I'm Julie Legg, author of The Missing Piece and diagnosed with ADHD at 52. Welcome to ADH Difference. In today's episode, I'm chatting with Darren Bull, who is the spokesperson from ADHD New Zealand. Now, this is off the back of some huge news from Pharmac, just recently announced. From the 1st of December 2024, Pharmac will be funding a new ADHD stimulant called lisdexamfetamine, also known as Vyvanse. Also, they will remove the renewal criteria for ADHD medication. Up until this point, every 2 years, ADHD medication must be renewed through a psychiatrist. Here's Darren. So this is all about the exciting news from Pharmac, and it's going to make a big change to many people with ADHD across New Zealand. So I thought I'd get straight to it. Why is the addition of lisdexamfetamine, or Vyvanse, so important in the development for ADHD treatment?
So it catches up the approach taken overseas to the approach that we now going to take in New Zealand. Lisdexamfetamine or Vyvanse is the next generation of ADHD medication, and it's been available in the US and the UK, Europe, and Australia for a number of years. So it's a fantastic step forward. Now, compared to the previous generations such as Ritalin and Concerta, it has less side effects, especially with sleep, and is away from that sort of medication that might have addiction issues, which is fantastic. Now, I hasten to add that everyone is different. So there'll be those who are better suited for Vyvanse, and those who will find that Concerta works for them. So just bear that in mind. It's not the wonder drug. It's just another tool within the medication toolbox.
And on that, Darren, it's up to the psychiatrist to determine based on, so rather than asking for it, the psychiatrist will be the one deciding.
Correct. So the psychiatrist and medical advice is still absolutely required, and you will still need a special authority for it to start it.
Brilliant. So along with the news about introducing this new funded stimulant medication, of course, the 2-year renewal process has been dropped, or will be, from the 1st of December 2024. How will removing that process really be a positive move for the ADHD community?
So ADHD New Zealand has been advocating for this for nearly a decade. And our own research shows that over half of our community that are on medication, getting that renewal is a significant barrier in 2 ways. First of all, you need to go back to a psychiatrist, and goodness knows there's not enough appointments, which means you go private. And when you go private, you have to pay. And a renewal can cost, I've heard, a range of $300. Actually, and up to the highest I've heard is $4,500. So it removes that cost and removes that time pressure. The second thing is, I always thought it was kind of stigmatizing for someone with ADHD to go back to a psychiatrist and ask, do I still have ADHD? And so it's just a significant barrier. I think there is a real positive to this, as we estimate it frees up potentially 10,000 psychiatrist hours in New Zealand a year.
Wow.
So it's a giant step forward.
And freeing up those resources will also too mean that getting the initial assessment and diagnosis may free flow a lot easier.
Yes.
Because there's no backlog of renewal appointments. That's brilliant. And well, the news I think is brilliant. I actually don't take medication myself, but I've spoken to many, many adults that do, and it's been quite challenging times. Have you had any feedback from the ADHD community with regards to the recent announcements?
The feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. And in fact, to be fair, a lot of people say, I don't believe this. Is this really happening? The way we do it now has been in place since 1999. So it's a significant change. It's the most significant change in the field of ADHD probably ever in New Zealand. So it's fantastic. And look, I think the real moment will come when someone rings up and asks for a renewal script, and they'll go, sure, this is it, and get it sorted. Yeah.
That's amazing. Wonderful. Um, Now, ADHD New Zealand has been a
Mm.
huge part in making change for the community for many decades. Um, can you tell us a little bit about the work that you've done behind the scenes leading up
Yeah.
to this Pharmac change?
Yeah. So, for a bit of history, the ADHD Association started in the early 70s as a parent support group. Um, and it was largely Auckland based and didn't have very many members. I joined in 2008 when my son was diagnosed with ADHD, and in 2011 went on their board. And in 2016, by that time I was the chair, we realized that I'm lucky. I do in my other life earn good income and able to pile a stack of support into Matthew. But what I realized is it didn't happen for most New Zealanders like this, and nothing was changing. So that's why we decided to form ADHD New Zealand. We are tiny, we have one employee, but we started to change it. And look, go back to 2016. In speech marks, girls could not get ADHD. It was the domain of naughty little boys, right? So we've had to change all of these attitudes. And to fast forward to today, I've kept track of every meeting to get this change. So since 2018, it's 339 meetings.
Wow.
Step by step by step. Then all of a sudden in 2020, people started taking ADHD New Zealand seriously under different definitions. We've got 30 to 40,000 members, making us the largest community-based ADHD organisation in the Southern Hemisphere. And when you have a voice, you can prove that you've got that voice. Things started to change. And then in 2022, we had Hui at Parliament. We were the first not-for-profit to have Hui at Parliament for the day, thanks to Chloe Sorbrick. What was remarkable about that, it was every health department like Te Whara Ora, Pharmac, Ministry of Health were all there, as well as all the colleges and the College of GP, psychiatrists, the clinical psychologists, and even the police. And what was amazing about the day is we were able to prove how the ADHD community was suffering in terms of the response from medical sector, and how, as I described it in the media, as one giant own goal, and then how we could start to take steps to fix it. And unbelievably, government just said, yes, let's keep doing it. And while 2022 to now is 2 years, it's remarkable how fast that went. And it's also remarkable that it's across 2 Labour governments under Jacinda and then Chris Hipkins, and then the work continued under Chris Luxton and his government. So the respective 3 ministers of health have continued it. And in particular, if this latest change, Nicola Willis, was instrumental in continuing to drive it forward as well. So a lot of work, and I should do a shout out to Pharmac. I know they're incredibly easy to criticize, but they've been most incredibly responsive. And we made a few changes last year as well, such as 3-month scripts picked up monthly and things like that. So it's amazing what they've done for us.
That's incredible. And you talk to the ADHD community, or you gather insights from them too, don't you? And that you have regular surveys. And that, I guess, helps gather the information in order to push for change. You've had a recent adult survey. Are you able to share any insights or results from that?
So the adult survey we released about 4 months ago, and what it really highlights, yes, we know the barriers. We know the special authority process is a massive barrier. The need to go private is still an issue, but we're getting past that. But what it highlights is 2 other key issues. I think the first is the associated stigma with ADHD is still there. Just under half of people have told their families and workplaces, and as adults, that is because they're too worried about what could happen if they admit it. And the second issue is there are significant mental health issues, and they haven't gone away. And what we know from overseas research, such as in Canada, is suicide attempts in adults is 4-1, those with ADHD versus those without. And in Australia, for 12 to 18-year-olds, is 2-1. So,
Wow.
so I'm really hopeful, even if these changes can remove some of that stigma, remove some of those barriers, and then the next thing we'll do is step into the mental health side. Yeah.
There's so much work to do, but gosh, what remarkable positive change for now. And
Yeah.
we absolutely take that win, don't we? Are there any other concerns or additional needs that you may want to advocate for, or is there anything that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we haven't finished with changes to the health system. And we're working hard, and I'm optimistic of a positive announcement next year. And that will be the ability for specially trained GPs to diagnose ADHD. So to be clear, they'll be ideally specially trained, and there's some there specially trained now. And then the second thing is they'll be monitored by associated psychiatrists or clinical psychologists. Now, the advantage of that is effectively the wait times and those barriers will remove, and people can get the help that they need. And then the second advantage, if approved and if it goes live, what that is doing is really freeing up the psychologists and psychiatrists and clinical psychologists into helping those from our community that may actually really need help. And then having had 2 children with ADHD, you can't talk about ADHD and just hang your head in shame when you look at the education system response. So we're moving onto that. I have to admit, when we started our advocacy, I thought changing the education system would be way easier than changing the health system, which actually has required legislative change. But it turns out the health system was way, way easier to change than education. And again, that theme of our own goal, if you can help a child that's neurodiverse and help a child who has ADHD, then you won't have the problems when they're adults. So this is where it starts, but it's a long way to go. Yeah.
Well, the ripple effect is huge. Ripple effect of misdiagnosis or undiagnosis, but also the positive change. And so, I'm feeling really good about this. And thank you so much for your time, Darren. I just wanted to talk to the man who knows it all, just to put this podcast out and celebrate.
Yeah, and we should take that moment as a country.
Yes.
We are now miles ahead of other countries, and I do media requests from overseas asking how is ADHD in New Zealand treated so much better than some of our counterpart Western countries. Yeah.
Fabulous. Okay, I will let you go, Darren.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and no doubt we will chat again in the near future.
All right, all the best. See ya. Bye-bye.